Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee, RotoBaller, my co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. SVG puts on a dominating effort in Mexico City, leads 60 of the 100 laps, wins the race by, 13 seconds, was it?
16 and a half.
16 and a half, just a complete ass whooping. And, I think we all kind of expected it after practice and qualifying because he got out of the car. He said he didn't think the car was that good, but overall he had the best lap times as far as just average speed. And so SVG goes, he wins stage 2. He took a little bit of a questionable strategy there at the end of stage 2 that, the announce booth was kind of wondering whether it would work out for them or not. But SVG wins it over Christopher Bell. Chase Elliott comes home with a podium finish as well. Alex Bowman, 4th. Michael McDowell, 5th. Then we got some surprises. John Hunter Nemechek finished 6th. Briscoe finished 7th. Cole Custer with an 8th place finish. William Byron and Chris Buescher rounding out the top 10. Ty Gibbs looked strong for a good early portion of that race. He finished 11th. He led 27 laps on the day. Carson Hocevar was decently strong. Finished top 10 in both stages, but he ended up 34th. Kyle Busch when the rain started, Kyle Busch got a little too aggressive. Took out him, Zane Smith, and a few other people there early, and then Kyle Larson had issues as well. He went out, though, and they basically put a qualifying setup on that and he got the lap or the point for the fastest lap in the race, which was their goal once his day was ruined, causing some controversy online there because of that. But overall, Nick, first race in Mexico, second road course race of the season. So not a surprise winner, but not a sleeper, but someone deep in points is now in the playoffs, shaking up the playoff picture. What do you think of the race?
That was a pretty good race. It was entertaining. A lot of different strategies. We had some wrecks. We had, passing all throughout the field. We had, drivers charging through the field. I think the very last stint when, the rain had really stopped and we had that one really long run to end the race, passing became pretty difficult, but you still could. I mean, we still saw guys fall, like Ty Gibbs fell from 6th back to 14th and then came back up to 11th on that last stint. We saw Bubba Wallace charge through the field from like 17th to 12th in the last couple laps. So overall, pretty good race. I thought it was entertaining and I had a good time.
Yeah, I thought we saw good passing throughout the race. I mean, I understand people are upset that SVG beat the shit out of everybody, but the fact is this is what we expected out of him. And he had the best car and he was in a league of his own. That's the only way to put it. And you're going to have races like that, especially on a road course where it's more likely like that. But Christopher Bell, maybe he had something for him. He started really deep in the field, had to use strategy to get up there. He finally went up and finished 2nd and got there and was kind of challenging him there early, but eventually SVG just took over it. But yeah, the big news out of Mexico is all the teams got there. Everything went smoothly. These drivers were treated like rock stars by the fans, which I thought was kind of cool to watch. The videos on social media. It was cool to see how receptive and the overall response from Mexico was. And yeah, I thought it put on a good race. I think it put on even better than I expected. Right? Not that I had any true expectations for that race, but I thought it was a pretty good race. I enjoyed it. I sat and watched the whole thing, and I didn't have anything bad to say. So that is a bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I didn't have anything bad to say about that race. Even though SVG won by 16 and a half, there was still a whole lot of other stuff to follow. So like you said, couple big, I shouldn't say big surprises, but a couple surprises in the top 10, John Hunter Nemechek, Cole Custer. To me, Cole Custer, not really a surprise. I mean, we've seen him be good at road courses before. So JHN really the big surprise. And I think the only other thing is I can't believe I didn't have Cole Custer top forward because he was like, it is what it is, but yeah. And it's funny because I even messaged PJ Walsh. I was like, man, probably should add Cole Custer too. And then turns out I didn't, and I should have. So
I was so my DraftKings projections loved Cole Custer, like to the point.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't trust it enough. I went more on Zane Smith. Like I had ended up like 45% Custer, but I was more on Zane Smith. And I was just like, man, I should have trusted myself on Custer. But yeah, it was nice seeing some new names up front. And then, Chris Buescher gave me a sweat there. I got him for plus 120 for a top 10, which if you know me, if I get plus money on post qualifying Chris Buescher top 10 on road course, I'm hitting it. And he tried his hard. One more lap, he would have finished 11th. He was struggling there at the end. And that's kind of something I think to note, because the Fords were very good in practice on the long run, but at the end of the race, they struggled on the long run. You saw Custer fall back. Blaney fall back. Yeah, Blaney had a rocket ship there early. Then he got some damage getting pushed up into the wall.
Kind of wasn't the same after that. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I know, and it's so annoying, right? Because Buescher early in the week was minus odds for top Ford, and then post practice and qualifying, he's plus 350. I'm like, damn, that's a gift, because I had him 23%. Plus 350 is 22.2%. So I was like, sure, I'll add him in, and now I've got him great, and couldn't pass Cole freaking Custer there at the end, which was a huge bummer. So, I mean, again, the big oversight was just not taking Custer top Ford. I definitely should have, especially knowing that we didn't know a whole lot about this race, all sorts of things with strategy, weather, new track, et cetera, just oversight on my part to not play Cole Custer top Ford as well. But I swear I did mention it to PJ early in the week that we should be adding him to our top Ford card, I should say. So,
one big surprise, Tyler Reddick was nowhere to be found this weekend. They missed it entirely. Did not find speed in practice, did not qualify well. I thought even in the race, maybe maybe they'd figure something out there, but man, that had to be like a combination of our two jinxes just destroying that team on a track that, I don't know what happened there. That was a little surprising. That was probably the most surprising thing of the weekend for me.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at like the results, right? Tyler Reddick finishes 20th. Bubba Wallace finishes 12th. Riley Herbst finished, where did he finish? 29th, but actually ran ahead of Reddick for a lot of that race.
Yeah.
Really bad showing from Tyler Reddick. I'm completely shocked. And not only am I shocked that they, I'm not so shocked that they didn't, that they rolled off poor. I'm shocked that they didn't figure it out throughout the rest of the week, because they had some other fast Toyotas, namely Christopher Bell. Chase Briscoe ended up in the top 10, charging back all the way from a lap down. So I'm just surprised that he couldn't even match Bubba Wallace, right, in 12th place there.
Yeah, he mentioned after practice that they absolutely missed it, and I'm like, man, how? But I guess you'll have those from time to time. Can't.
By the way, how about Ty Gibbs shit in the bed again?
Again, man.
Every week now. The only reason he got third at Michigan was because of that fuel strategy deal and track position there at the end, because he faded hard at the start of that Michigan race. But
do we think it's a Ty Gibbs thing, or can that crew just not keep up with track changes?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Because he did get off strategy, so he restarted 6th there, but then he restarted 6th and just fell back to 14th, and then finally clawed his way back up to 11th at the end there. But, he was running right up there with SVG for a good chunk of that race, and then all of a sudden was getting passed left and right there on that final stint until he started doing some passing back at the end.
Yeah, that was really weird. There were portions of that race that he was outrunning SVG legitimately, lap times and everything. And I'm like, okay, we might get our first Ty Gibbs win here, and then absolutely shit the bed. Man, that was weird.
Yeah, very weird.
But yeah, I do think it's a team thing. I don't think they're gelling well and really know how to keep up with changes. And
I'll tell you who else was surprising. Ryan Preece. Really good race. I know he only finished 15th, but a lot of it was getting caught in the wrong strategy and getting shuffled in traffic and having to deal with that. And kind of ended his race when he got on the wrong strategies. But and we knew he probably was going to get on the wrong strategies because stage points are so important, right? He wins stage 1, but didn't work out for him in terms of the finish. But man, he had a fast car.
Yeah, he ended up being the favorite for top Ford after practice and qualifying. And a big part of that was he qualified on the front row. Speaking of strategies, Chris Buescher and Austin Cindric were the two very questionable strategies there when the rain started falling on lap 1. everyone came in and got rain tires. They stayed on slicks, and I'm still, I don't understand why they made that call. That was just, man, if I had to complain about anything, it's because I had a bet on Buescher, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, what in the world? In what world does this work? It doesn't.
We already know Austin Cindric's bad in the rain, so why would you put him on slicks in the rain?
Right. I think theirs was just, I mean, they're locked in the playoffs, so they don't have anything to lose. But you know what? Now that SVG won, Buescher's on the cut line. And I was very surprised that they took that much of a risk. But that's definitely one thing that this race in Mexico did, was shuffled up the playoff standings. We're now 10 races until the playoffs. We have 10 different winners. If you don't have anything else from Mexico, we can go ahead and talk about these playoffs, because I think there's a lot to talk about there.
Real quick, shout outs to Catherine Legg for wrecking absolutely nobody at Mexico City.
Yes.
I know people were talking about who's going to get legged this week or whatever. Kyle Busch wrecked 6 more cars than Catherine Legg did. So, yeah, kudos to her for finishing 32nd. Didn't have the speed, but I mean, it's a BJ McLeod car, right? Like, to be intact with, like, if you look at final, like, qualifying and final practice and stuff, she was within half a second of Ryan Truex and Cody Ware. So that's, for that equipment, a pretty solid showing.
Yeah, finished 32nd ahead of Ty Dillon and Carson Hocevar, who were both 1 lap down as well. So
yeah, and Carson Hocevar couldn't keep his damn car on the track, and then caused an intentional caution, in my opinion.
Yeah, yes. There's no way that wasn't. And it's one of those things that I think is one of his many things. Yeah. One of his many not so kosher things that he does. And that's another person that's being talked about. I don't know if it's really becoming as big of a deal as it maybe should, because I feel like a lot of the NASCAR fan base agrees with what he said, but he just got fined $50,000 from his team for the live stream comments.
I actually think Carson Hocevar is one of the most liked drivers in NASCAR right now, and this is going to get a little political. I'm not trying to take any politics side here, but all I'm saying is there's a certain side of the politics that love what Carson Hocevar said about Mexico City, and there's a certain side of the other side of the political spectrum that loves him because they've always loved him and they accept his apology. So now he's just loved by everybody, and it pisses me off because I can't stand him. I can't stand the guy. He right rear hooks people intentionally. He left rear hooks people intentionally. He is too aggressive and wrecks people accidentally, which is fine. That's part of, the same thing happened with Ross Chastain for a while. But then he stops on track, waits for the caution to come out, and then immediately goes. He's done that at least 3 times in his career now. He spilled the beans on Chicagoland, right? The dude needs to stop talking on his damn Twitch streams because he's saying things he's not supposed to say, whether it's, bad, potentially, air quote, racist stuff, potentially. I'm just saying, could be classified that way by certain people, or in terms of spilling the beans on a NASCAR announcement. He kind of is doing the Christopher Bell deal where he said Chase Briscoe is going to be my teammate next year, a little early. So, Carson Hocevar needs to just watch his mouth too, in addition to everything else. Punted Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, straight up punted him. Right 2 weeks after he punted Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Yeah. Stenhouse said he was going to beat his ass when he got back to the States. So we'll see what happens there. Just Carson Hocevar is widely liked, and it really bothers me.
Yeah, I did notice, and like I said, it was his home track, but there were a lot of Carson Hocevar shirts and everything when I was up in Michigan. That's one thing I definitely did notice. His driving style at road courses, Hocevar specifically, reminds me of me when I play a NASCAR video game at a road course, because I'm going in deep in the corners and I don't give a shit if I'm hitting you or not. That's exactly what it reminds me of. And except he's doing it in real life, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It reminds me of a lot of times when I play NASCAR video games, I like to try to race it professionally and stuff, even though it's all computer AI stuff unless I'm, on some of these like server type races, but that's pretty rare for me. But it's usually AI. And so even then I try to race the AI like professionally and do it just because I like to see what I could do. Then there's other times where I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to the corner as deep as possible and move the fuck out of my way, right? So that's what Hocevar is doing. And, he does a lot of simulator racing and stuff, and maybe he gets some of it from that.
Yeah. But overall, I would say that was a successful race at Mexico City. No major issues from what I've heard, and a good show. So, I don't really have much else from Mexico.
I don't have much else from Mexico. I do have one other thing from this past racing weekend. Kyle Kirkwood, baby.
Kirkwood fucking won. I couldn't believe it. Why didn't we bet him, or why didn't you tell me to bet him?
I didn't bet almost anything on that race. I bet what's his name? David Maluka's top 3, and then I had a Grid Rivals play, and that was it. And the Grid Rival play hit. The Maluka's top 3 did not hit. It looked really good for most of the race. And then he got penalized for an unsafe pit release or something like that. And then had a bad restart right at the end there, which dropped him back. But the whole day he was running top 3. So pretty happy about that Malukas bet, even though it didn't work out. But still 2 winners on the year in the IndyCar series, Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood. Pretty crazy.
I was at the bar all day on Sunday. That's where I watched the NASCAR race, and then the IndyCar race was on afterwards. And I was watching it, but I wasn't like fully paying attention. That one wreck was insane.
Where the Joseph Newgarden one?
Yeah. Holy crap. That was wild, man. But yeah. That
was crazy. That was a great race too. So there's a guy on Twitter, his handle is Hickey, Hickey, 93. And he does, instead of the good race poll, he does like the spicy race poll, and he's rated 1, 2, 3, or 4 peppers. Gateway easily got the highest rating of the year, like 3.7 peppers on a scale of 1 to 4. So, super fantastic race. And I just booked a trip to Iowa for the IndyCar Iowa doubleheader. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. Hell yeah. That's awesome. All right. On from that, we're going to talk about these playoff standings. So SVG getting in means we have 10 different winners. And by the way, I know the big talk right now is SVG doesn't deserve to be in. You know who has more playoff points right now than, or you know who he has more playoff points than right now? That's already locked in?
Probably several drivers, because he's got some stage wins, a stage win.
Ross Chastain. Chastain has only 5. SVG has 6. But 10 different winners, so that means we have 6 more spots to determine. We have 10 races left. Will we see the potential is there, I think, for maybe more than 16 winners this year. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher are the 6 that are in right now. On the outside looking in, we got Priest, McDowell, Allmendinger, Kyle Busch. Like I said, 10 races to go. We got a streak here of, we got Pocono. Then we have Atlanta, not Atlanta, Echo Park now. But anybody could win that. And then we have a couple road course races, Chicago Street Course, Sonoma. Then we got Dover, Indianapolis, which we've seen turn into a fuel mileage race before, and surprise winners win. Iowa, another road course in Watkins Glen. And don't forget that we end with Richmond and Daytona. So I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I think we could potentially see a big name driver miss these playoffs this year. And definitely, with SVG getting in now, guys like Ryan Preece, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman are now really on the hot seat of getting into the postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild end to this regular season. Chris Buescher is the cut line, like you said. Ryan Preece on the outside, the very next driver on the outside looking in, that's his teammate he's looking in towards. But again, another winner, and all of a sudden Alex Bowman's the cut line. Winner after that, Chase Briscoe's the cut line. And like you said, we could be in line for several other winners outside the cut line with all the different races we have here. Heck, Kyle Busch could win Pocono, right? Or,
Mhm.
Carson Hocevar could win any of these races. Or Atlanta, of course, is anybody's game. Daytona's anybody's game. We've got the road courses, which, will probably be, I think, a driver who's already won before. If it's not SVG, then whether it's Bell or Byron or Larson,
Yeah.
some of those guys, Tyler Reddick hasn't won yet, but guys that are safe, I would say, Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick. So I think probably the road courses will be okay, but you can't rule out a Michael McDowell or a Daniel Suarez or a AJ Allmendinger for sure.
But even like Buescher or Bowman, who won at road courses last year,
Yep.
If we get these extra winners, we could see if Tyler Reddick doesn't get a win, we could see Tyler Reddick missing the playoffs. It'd take a lot. Don't get me wrong.
But you know what? It took a lot that year that either Truex or Blaney was going to miss the playoffs, and they were sitting there like 4th and 7th in points or something.
Yep. So, yeah, so I'm curious. Do you have any take on the whole SVG doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs stuff? That the
rules
typical
are the rules, right? I don't fucking care.
Yeah, I don't understand why people make such a big deal out of it.
It already got ruined with Harrison Burton last year. This can't get ruined anymore.
Yeah, because here's the fact: he's not making it out of the first round, and we all know that, and he knows that.
Well, actually, I don't necessarily agree with that. If he wins Chicago Street Course and then wins Watkins Glen, he has 15, 16, 17, 18, depending on stages, playoff points, which could be a lot more than some other drivers. Earlier this year at Bristol and Darlington, and he had I think what were the finishes at Bristol and Darlington? I'm trying to find them. He DNF'd one of them, I think it was, but Darlington he finished 20th. Right? If he finishes 20th and some other guys have some DNFs and he has all those playoff points, he DNF'd Bristol. That's what it was. But Bristol is Bristol. It's kind of chaotic. And the way he's actually honestly been improving a little bit on speed, he could make it out of the first round. Then the Roval's in the second round. I'm not ruling out a top 8 run. I just can't see him going past the top 8. But I think he's got much better potential to advance than Harrison Burton ever did.
Imagine him making it to the round of 8 and then winning Talladega.
That
would be just amazing.
And somebody in the Action Network Discord did ask me, like, would you take him 40-1 to make the Final Four? No, because I'd rather just bet him to win the Roval outright and then parlay it with winning Talladega outright. You know what I mean? And that's probably going to get you longer odds. Because that's probably what it's going to take to make the Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely not the best way to bet that at all. 40-1, just there's not value there.
It's literally going to require him to win the Roval and then win Talladega. There's probably a few fringe scenarios where his points his way in, but I'd rather just bet him to win the Roval because he's going to be like 2-1, and then take those winnings and then bet him 50-1 to win Talladega.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Overall on the rest of the standings or in the regular season standings, not much change. William Byron now has a 67-point lead over Larson. Hamlin falls a couple spots after missing that race. He'll be back this week at Pocono. Michael McDowell jumped 7 spots in the points with that top 5 finish. So that puts him right in the thick of the playoff race, as we talked about before. And yeah, guys like Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs are still in that must-win mode, as is pretty much everybody, I would say, from Zane Smith on down, or Ty Gibbs on down. Any noteworthy things with these playoffs, other than, guys like Buescher, Bowman, Briscoe, you could even throw Bubba Wallace in there, really can't afford 1 or 2 bad races anymore, especially Alex Bowman. Good for him for rebounding with that top 5. If he had another bad race, he'd probably be on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah, I think the notable thing is, like you said, Buescher, Bowman, Briscoe, Bubba, all the Bs. They're all within a race of each other, 373 up to 411 points in the standings. But to get to Tyler Reddick, you have to go another 66 points. So like I feel like Reddick's safe unless we get like 4 or 5 new winners. You know what I mean? And they would all have to be below him in the standings as well, not just like a Chase Elliott winning or whatever. So I think it's going to take a whole lot for Tyler Reddick. Excuse me, for Tyler Reddick to end up on the bubble. I got the beer burps or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's quite the same as the Blaney Truex year because we already had more winners at this point in the season that year. I think by 2 or 3 than we did this year. We had Bell win 3 in a row. We have Denny Hamlin already with 3 wins. We have Kyle Larson with 3 wins. Right? We got multiple drivers with 3 drivers with 3 wins. So that's already eating up a lot of the real estate there for potential new win or drivers that could have already won. Chris Buescher finished second. He could have won Michigan, but he made a mistake passing Zane Smith. And if he hadn't made that mistake, I think he's the Michigan winner. And all of a sudden we have another winner, but that's not the case.
I think it really gets interesting and something to discuss if we get 2 new winners, not Chase Elliott or Tyler Reddick these next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or soon. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because, Allmendinger can win a road course, and he's right there too, and so can McDowell.
Besides, outside of the playoff picture, so I'm not counting Buescher, Bowman, Briscoe, Bubba. I'm talking outside the playoff picture. Besides Kyle Busch and Eric Jones and Ty Gibbs, is there a driver that could win Pocono this weekend? Hocevar, I guess.
Carson Hocevar.
Yeah, Hocevar. Is there any other driver? Right? It would have to be one of those 4, I think.
You know who's been really good at Pocono and who's been really fast on intermediates this year, but doesn't have any finishes to show for it? That could do the same thing SVG just did.
No.
Brad Keselowski.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Absolutely, Brad Keselowski. But yeah, that would definitely throw a wrench in the playoff picture. I forgot about him because I had to scroll down so far in the standings.
Ty Gibbs has been really good.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Ty Gibbs has been really good at Pocono too.
Yes, he has. But he's also been really bad at all the tracks he's been really good at this year.
That's true. I'm not on Ty Gibbs like I was for Michigan. I'm not.
It's unbelievable. And again, even Michigan, yes, he finished 3rd, but
it wasn't
he was so bad. He was, like we said, he was 12th in I think average running position because of the track position and 25th in speed. Some of it was fuel saving, but remember, he started up near the front and just plummeted to the back along with Alex Bowman in that Michigan race. So yeah, I just hard time betting on Ty Gibbs right now. And again, if it wasn't for nepotism, he'd be on the hot seat on that ride because Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez got the axe in the same amount or sooner time than him, and he performed equal or worse than them.
You know what's weird is that's not even being really discussed. It's like it's even taboo to talk about.
We're the only ones talking about it. We've talked about it, a couple weeks ago. We're the only ones talking about why isn't Ty Gibbs on the hot seat.
But as far as going back to Kez for a second, finished 7th last year, led 20 laps here at Pocono. He had the 2nd most fastest laps in that race too. Blaney had 22, Kez had 20.
Yep.
So that's another underdog I'm rooting for.
It's so weird because Keselowski, I feel like, has always been good at Pocono, but I think he only has 1 win, and that was the broken ankle win or whatever it was.
2011.
Yeah. And I remember he came off a broken, I think it was ankle. And just crazy because I feel like he's always been good here, but just doesn't have the wins to show for it. But I was going to say, because I scrolled down so far to look at Brad Keselowski in the standings. There are 3 drivers with 2 races this year that are eligible for points. Jimmy Johnson, Catherine Legg, and Chad Fincham. So Catherine Legg is ahead of Chad Fincham in points. Let's just throw that out there. Okay. Just throwing that out there for all the Catherine Legg haters. If you're going to hate her, make sure you really hate on Chad Fincham.
And David Starr. just because he used to drive the 66.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you got anything else with these standings?
Nope. I think we're good to roll up into Pocono.
Your favorite track. All right.
One of them for sure. I mean, like, I always joke that it's my favorite track because I do, but I wouldn't say it's actually my favorite, but jokingly, like, it is probably my second or third favorite track, and everybody else ranks it so low that it, like, favorite over expectation is number one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I always joke we need 2 500-mile Pocono races each year, no stages. Give me those back. Those were the days.
All right, 3 races at Pocono in the next gen era, and like we've talked about for the last few, or like probably month, 3 different winners in those races. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney have all won. Ryan Blaney won last year.
Chase Elliott didn't even cross the line as the leader in his win.
And didn't even lead a lap. Did not even lead
0
a lap.
laps led and is the winner.
Yeah. Was it Hamlin and Kyle Busch that got DQ'd in that race?
Yeah. Hamlin and Kyle Busch got DQ'd in 2022. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Hamlin and Kyle Busch finished 1-2. Chase Elliott finished 3rd, but then Hamlin and Kyle Busch got disqualified. So Chase Elliott became the winner by leading 0 laps in that race.
Mm-hmm. Denny Hamlin, among active drivers, 7 wins in 35 starts at Pocono. He's great here. Coming off of, did not race last weekend, so he's fresh, I guess. Kyle Busch has 4 wins here. Truex has 2. Blaney has 2 now. He got his first career win here with the Wood brothers. Buescher, Logano, Bowman, Elliott, Keselowski all have wins here. I guess so. Hamlin, actually, I think it's kind of shifted. I don't think Hamlin's the unanimous favorite among books this week, but is Denny Hamlin the guy to beat this week, heading into the weekend?
By my model, yes. I have him in that 15% neighborhood. So, yeah, I think so. But 5-1 is not long enough. 15% is like plus 567, and it's a little less than 15% for me. So probably need at least a 6 in front of the number to bet Denny Hamlin for the winner. But yes, he is number 1 in my Pocono model.
Mm-hmm. So a bit of a change this weekend. They are changing the tires for Cup cars. Different left and right side tires than they ran here last season. They're using the same left side tires that they ran at Vegas, Homestead, Darlington, Texas, Kansas, and Nashville this year. And then they're using the right side that they ran at Indianapolis last year. Indianapolis, another big track, probably the best comparable track for Pocono to use. I forget who won Indy last year. Look it up. Was it Larson? Larson won last year?
I don't remember, honestly.
Yep, Larson won last year. He led 8. Oh, it was the fuel saving. He was the only one with enough fuel. Everybody else was saving fuel, and he drove through the field.
I still don't remember that race. Like, I just don't remember it at all.
I remember it because I was live betting the shit out of him as he was going through the field because books weren't updating to everyone didn't have enough fuel. So Larson was just passing everybody, and I was just betting. But Reddick started on the pole that race. He finished second. He led 40 laps. Bubba Wallace was really strong in that race as well. But yeah, Kyle Larson ended up winning that one.
Bubba's always strong at the 2.5 flats.
Yep. So a couple of notables that do not have wins at Pocono. William Byron does not have a win here, even though he has the best average finish among active drivers at 9.4. Kyle Larson does not have a win here, average finish of 11.6 here. Eric Jones is really good here, does not have a win. Tyler Reddick does not have a win here. Christopher Bell does not have a win here. Also, just really hasn't put up a very consistent amount of good finishes at Pocono. So you think we see a first time Pocono winner this weekend?
The odds are Probably no, but I mean, it's Kyle Larson, right?
Right.
Kyle Larson should have won 2021, but he blew a tire on the last lap and Alex Bowman won.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's basically a coin flip, I think.
Yeah. It's and again, Pocono is one of those racetracks where fuel mileage can come into play. I mean, this is a big track, and we've seen it come into play before. Hell, that one year that Kyle Busch won it, remember he lost his transmission or something, and he needed the race to go green the rest of the way for him to end up winning it, and he did there. So some weird things can happen at Pocono. Speaking of Bubba Wallace, he's had some mishaps at Pocono before. Remember his brakes failed and he turn one going 200 miles an hour. But overall, he's been pretty good here in the next gen era. Finishes between 8th and 11th in all 3 races.
And you go back to when he was with Petty. He had what was it at Pocono? He had. I'm trying to look through my results here. We didn't have the finishes at Pocono, but he had some good runs at Pocono. Did really well at Indy in the Petty cars, a 3rd and 9th at Indy. But then like you said, with 2311 in the next gen era, always between 8th and 11th. But I think he really shines at these 2.5 mile large flat tracks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Chase Elliott's another one that's been really strong here in the next gen era, including that fluke victory or whatever, top 10 in all 3 races. Tyler Reddick, though, has been the best as far as average finish in the next gen era. Finishes of second, and 6th. Mm-hmm. Does not really have the driver rating to show for it as being the best. That belongs to Denny Hamlin. Average rating of 126.4 over the 3 races. He's got that win there. 2 years ago, 2nd place finish last year. I forget what happened in 2022. Led 21 laps and finished 35th. But yeah, Hamlin is just so good at this racetrack. And if they have if they're even close on speed, should definitely. I think victory lane is going to go through him.
I agree. I always have my track quality metric, and what that is, for those of you who don't know, it's basically how good are you at this track versus all the other tracks on average. And I've actually updated it to removing super speedways, road courses, and Bristol dirt, so that you get kind of just like versus all the other non-drafting ovals. How good are you here? And when you're as good as Denny Hamlin, and yet your track quality rating metric is like plus 15, plus 18%. I can't remember the exact number. It's on my other computer, my work computer, but that's really good. So Denny Hamlin is amazing here. He's not number 1 in track quality, but when you take a guy that's championship potential caliber, he's never won a championship, but championship potential caliber, and then you put him as this is arguably his best track of all of them, he's very good here. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's, the only reason I can't get to him at 5-1, like you mentioned, fuel mileage, strategy, all these things. Pocono is the oval that drives like a road course in some ways. Got 3 different turns that all are flat, kind of road course like, but also just you can pit without losing a lap if you're close enough to the leader. So you get a little stage flip in, and there's a lot of strategy that comes into play in Pocono, and that makes it very hard to win, even if you're the best car, because sometimes the strategy just doesn't work in your favor, and it shakes things up. So Pocono, while it is a track where you can predict who's going to be good, that doesn't necessarily translate to finishes.
Yeah, and it's over the years, it's always been one of my frustrating things, and I think it's why I don't enjoy Pocono as much. Like I've had really good races here DFS wise, and I've had really bad. And it's because of that just uncertainty. When things don't quite go as you expect them to because of things kind of changing up. But like I mentioned before, Eric Jones is pretty good here. Even in the next gen era, when he struggled with his equipment, finishes of 9th, and 14th. He has 13 career starts here, top 10s in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And then another 14th place finish there as well last season with Legacy Motor Club, including top 10s in both stages. So Eric Jones, I think, is a guy to keep an eye on. Maybe not to win this week, but I was mentioning my track quality metric. He's the one that's number 1. Is he number one?
Yeah. So I'm not saying he's the best driver at Pocono. I'm saying relative to his other tracks, he has the highest like elevation over his baseline performance at Pocono than any other driver does over their baseline performance.
Which is kind of wild when you consider the fact that he's so good at Darlington.
Yep. Yeah. Well, again, Darlington's also right up there. I'm not saying Pocono's his best track because Darlington actually is in track quality. I'm just saying relative to the field, he gets the biggest jump over baseline, but he gets an even bigger jump with Darlington, if you know what I mean. But Eric Jones this week gets the biggest bump over their baseline average among all drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think he's someone to keep an eye on. Like I said, maybe not to win, but when I checked earlier this week, you could have got his top 10 at plus 300. I did not bet that, but I wouldn't argue against someone betting that either.
And one thing other that I want to point out is my track quality metric. I choose a different sample size depending on the track, and I don't choose it as just whatever ends up being the most predictive. This is actually going back 8 Pocono races because of the variance that it throws out with the strategy and stuff. You need multiple races to kind of a larger sample size of Pocono races to really tease out the predictive quality of track quality. So over 8 races, the last 8 Pocono races for each driver, non-DNF Pocono races, I should say. Eric Jones is number 1 in track quality.
On the flip side of that, there are some drivers that simply aren't very good at Pocono. Let me pull this up here quick. Guys like Michael McDowell aren't very good here. As far as like, typically you can kind of pencil him in for like a mid-tier thing, but someone that's a little noteworthy, Joey Logano. I mean, he has a win here, but average finish is 17.5, only 5 top 10s in 29 career starts. So a little bit below average for him here at this racetrack as well.
Joey's one of the lowest track quality guys. I completely disagree with McDowell. He has a 6th and an 8th here with Front Row Motorsports since 2020. I actually have him as a positive track quality metric here.
I guess he might be. I was looking at the overall thing. That was probably when he was with all those shit teams, wasn't it? Yep, it was. Yeah, he's been top 20 here since 2017, pretty much every
aside
race.
From last year, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but no, Joey Logano definitely gets one of the bigger downgrades here. I forget some of the others. It's on my computer, but Joey Logano was my notable one. So yeah, I would definitely downgrade Joey Logano. Cody Ware gets an upgrade here. That doesn't say much, but I did remember that as well.
So we did get a comment here about Ryan Preece, and that made me think of it because he won only one finish better than 20th here in 8 career starts. It was an 8th place finish in 2021, 30th last year with Stuart Haas, 31st the year before, also with Stuart Haas. Now, obviously, at someone I think like they've been fast on intermediates this year. Will he be able to get this monkey off his back at Pocono this week?
I think so. Again, I like looking at non-DNFs because the last 2 Pocono races he ran were DNFs. So it doesn't really give a good representation. Or things like flags, right? What was your speed? But Ryan Preece has a positive track quality. It's not huge. It's like 1 or 2%, but a positive track quality rating at Pocono for his Cup Series. In the other series, if we look at Xfinity and Trucks, he has a very positive track quality rating at Pocono. So when you roll it all together, this is a good track for Ryan Preece. And if you look at each of the 3 RFK Racing drivers' last 16 non-drafting, non-dirt ovals, which were non-DNFs, Ryan Preece has the highest driver rating of the 3. So I should say staying within the team. So Preece, it would just be this year's races with RFK. But Buescher and Keselowski take their last 16 non-DNF races at non-drafting ovals. Preece has the best driver rating, so you add in a positive bump at Pocono for his track quality. Yeah, I think he has the potential to have a good race this weekend. Borderline top 12, 15, I would think on speed, and then you add in shake up some strategy. There's definitely a chance he could finish top 10.
And as far as speed in the RFK cars, there's been a couple races that Buescher's been quicker than him, but for the most part, Priest has had the best speed. He typically qualifies so deep in the field that he can't really show it till late. But as I said, last year Pocono race, the two RFK cars were really strong. Buescher put up, let me see here, 12 fastest laps, and like I said, Keselowski put up 20. So another Ford that put up quite a few fastest laps in this race last year. And this was another comment we got. Josh Berry put up 13 fastest laps last year. Jeremy here is calling Josh Berry wins race number 2 for the 2025 season.
Our audience is on it today because that's another driver I was going to talk about. So Priest I was going to talk about, Josh Berry I was going to talk about. Yeah, y'all are on it. This has always been a good track for Josh Berry as well if you go back to the lower series. And this has always been a good track for Wood Brothers Racing. So, Ryan Blaney got his first career win here with Wood Brothers Racing. And you look at Josh Berry, he finished 20th, but like you said, the fastest laps, the driver rating, all that type stuff, flags, he was very good. You look at Xfinity, his most recent Xfinity race, not counting 2024, was with AM Racing and ran a race at Pocono, but with Junior Motorsports, led the most laps, finished 24th. But then the year before that, finished 3rd with Junior Motorsports. Had a 9th place finish with Jordan Anderson Racing in the Xfinity Series, and had one of his best finishes in the Truck Series with Rackley War Racing, second best finish that year at Pocono. So great track for Josh Berry. Great track for Ryan Priest. You mentioned the RFK speed, and then just Wood Brothers in general for Josh Berry has always had decent results at Pocono. So, yeah, I think our listeners are on it. I think, everything I'm seeing for Pocono, I think it sounds like our listeners are seeing as well. You look at Harrison Burton, he finished 8th at Pocono. I mean, it's Harrison fucking Burton. he was garbage. He finished 8th at Pocono. Matt DiBenedetto had an 18th at Pocono, his second year with Wood Brothers Racing. So, a 13th and a 6th in 2020. See, Paul Menard had strong finishes at Pocono. And, of course, Ryan Blaney got his first career win at Pocono. So Wood Brothers Racing has a setup here that's really good. And you add in a good track for Josh Berry. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I love the upside here.
How do we feel about top 10 plus 225?
Plus 250 at Bet365.
Is it plus 250? I didn't look there.
Yep.
Bet365's been very nice with their top 10s these last few weeks. But yeah, plus 250 over there for a top 10 for Josh Berry. I like it. I like that.
I'm
especially
recording Running Hot right after this, and I can guarantee you that'll be one of my picks. So y'all are going to fuck me over by moving the line before I even get to record the show.
All right. Any other underdogs for you in your mind this week?
I mean, depends on who counts as an underdog, right? But Kyle Busch, he's number 2 in my track quality metric after
You know what's funny? That's exactly who I just clicked on as I asked that question. Was Kyle Busch.
Yeah. So Eric Jones, Kyle Busch. Yep. It's going to be another good race.
Of course, it's Pocono.
Yeah. I'm excited.
But
it's not 500 miles and we have stages, which takes a little bit of the strategy out of it. Not a lot, but a little bit of the strategy out of it.
Yeah, that's a good question here by Andrew. Since next gen, how many times has this turned into a fuel mileage race? Which, over 3 races. I can't say I know off the top of my head. I do know that there's been we've seen a significant number of leaders in those races. I think we're averaging like 8 or 9 different leaders.
Look, I'll tell you, it's always going to come down to fuel mileage if we get overtimes, because these teams will always pit, given the fact that you can stay in the lead lap. The lead drivers are going to pit as early in fuel window as they possibly can, and even try to maybe pit even earlier than you'd expect, knowing they can save a little bit, because if the caution comes out and they pit first, everybody else is going to pit and they cycle right to the front, right? So this can always turn into a fuel mileage race. And I wouldn't ask since next gen, I would ask since stage racing, right? Because that's a more important question. How often has this turned into a fuel mileage race since the start of stage racing, which was 16 or 17, whatever it was there. And it always has the potential to turn into fuel mileage. It had it more, I think, pre-stages, but it definitely still has the chance to turn into fuel mileage with the stage races. You mentioned Kyle Busch needed it to stay green and have everybody else run out of fuel when he lost his transmission or whatever. Yeah, always has the potential to be a fuel mileage race.
Yeah, you look at last year's race. Ryan Blaney won the race, but he didn't finish top 10 in either stage. With that being said, he had the best driver rating in the race. So this is a very strategy heavy track, and teams doing the best they can to be in position at the end. It might not be the fastest car that ends up winning here at Pocono. Yeah,
which is important because flags is going to be important, but it gets in terms of like how fast are you. It's going to be very telling of how fast you are, but it's not going to tell you if you're going to be on the best strategy.
Mm-hmm. And then, like we were talking before with the playoff standings, some of those guys are going to be focusing on points, whereas some of them are going to be going for the win. If they don't have a car to win, if Chris Buescher doesn't have a car to win, he's probably going to focus more on points than he is trying to be in position to get the
That's
best
my
finish.
big worry about Ryan Preece, right? Is he going to worry about stage points and getting those similar with Chris Buescher, similar with Alex Bowman, Bubba Wallace, all these guys that we just talked about on the cut line, Chase Briscoe. Like those are the four right now, plus throw in Preece and maybe Kyle Busch. You're like, what is their point strategy? I think much less with Kyle Busch. I think he's more on like the we got to win kind of side. Yeah. But you can't rule out McDowell, Allmendinger, and Kyle Busch thinking about points. But those three are probably thinking we could win on a road course. We could win by being optimal on strategy, even at Pocono. So I would really say Bubba, Briscoe, Bowman, Buescher, and Preece are the most likely. And then maybe Tyler Reddick, honestly, just because the guys that are the most likely to just grab some stage points because they can.
Whereas someone like Josh Berry, he has no reason.
If you're close enough to the leader and you can pit and get back out, without losing a lap, and you're Josh Berry, you're absolutely doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to be within I think it's within 8 seconds of the leader, right? So if you're not within 8 seconds of the leader, you can't really do the flip the stage strategy. So you got to still be running pretty damn good to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's 8, if I remember right. I always get those numbers confused, but yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely a cutoff where you can't. I think it used to be like 5, but in the single lug next gen era, I think it's been 8. If I remember correctly. All right. Anything else from for Pocono before we get to our picks and everything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right. You are up first this week. We both had an awful week with our picks to win. Reddick, you had Reddick last week. He finished 20th. I had Kyle Busch, who kamikazed into that corner, and Leroy Jenkins did it to his 37th place finish. 2 straight finishes outside the top 30 for me. Who you got this week to win Pocono?
It's a tough. There's a lot of drivers that could win it, and I'm gonna go with Kyle Larson.
Getting his first win at Pocono.
It's about time.
I can respect that. Solid pick. Hard to bet against him anywhere. Very surprising to me that he does not have a win here.
I agree.
Let's see. Do I want to go with no. I was thinking Hamlin, but you know what? I'm going to go with another guy that doesn't have a win here. Willie B. William Byron.
He's number 2 in my model, actually, behind him.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Byron here. See if I can start catching up to you on the wins for the season. I just got a feeling. I got a feeling he somehow gets it done. All right, 36 for 36. We both had Reddick last week. Man, that was not the best week to use Tyler Reddick, but we move forward. Who you got? 17 points for Reddick for both of us last week, by the way.
I have no idea who I'm going to take this week. I also don't know if I've taken some of these drivers before or not. We really need to get up on the, what is our 36 standings? Who have we picked and not picked, you know?
I know. I'm gonna put that on my actual to-do list so I stop forgetting.
I'll pick 2. I'll pick a main one, and in case I've already picked them, I'll pick a backup one. Okay. My main pick, and I can't remember if I've taken them before or not. I feel like I might have, but in case I haven't, I'm gonna take Kyle Busch.
If you have, it hasn't been. It would have had to have been before Vegas.
Then I probably haven't taken him. I don't think I would have taken him at Phoenix, Coda, Atlanta, or Daytona.
That's what I'm thinking.
So that's gonna be Kyle Busch. But as a backup, just in case. Just in case I need a backup, I will go William Byron if I haven't taken him. I feel like I might have already taken him.
All right. I'll go and I'll check. I'll double check on those. And I need that spreadsheet like you had last year.
Yeah, we'll update that and everything will be good.
So I was thinking maybe Eric Jones. This is tough. And I'm also thinking Denny Hamlin. I'm kind of debating between those two this weekend.
Yep.
I got a coin to flip. Give me. Fuck it. I'm going Eric Jones.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either here or Darlington.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, we'll go here. We'll go with Eric Jones here. And yeah, Andy, I saw your comment here. I remember him Sunday. We were talking to Nemechek, and I remember specifically saying I could not get to Nemechek outside of just the place differential upside.
That's
so
a good
yeah,
call. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, good one on there. Good for you. Hopefully you had a good day with him and Custer. I think that's what the main top lineups ended up was Nemechek, Custer, and then obviously SVG and them. All right. Anything else from you for Pocono before we wrap this thing up?
With our DraftKings.
Oh, shit. I forgot about DraftKings. How could I forget that? It's my favorite thing of the week. Man, I even had I was checking on them earlier. I made a lineup earlier. That's how, once I saw lineup or the salaries drop.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get this loaded up here quick. All right, there we go.
My first? I think so.
Yep, you are first. Sorry.
Give me Eric Jones. Give me Josh Berry. I like Priest, but I'm worried about the points racing. Really like my team. I feel like would fit really well with Eric Priest. With Ryan Priest. But instead, I'm going to drop down to Noah Gragson.
Interesting.
That'll allow me to get Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. It's kind of a coin flip between Larson and Byron, but Byron's higher in my model, but I actually trust Larson more in terms of speed. And I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. I think he's going to not qualify amazing. He has that win, so, he can go for the win here. And Ross has honestly had some really strong races here. You think back to the Ganassi days, and he was running up front in the doubleheaders. So that's my team.
Hamlin, Larson, Chastain, Berry, Jones, Gragson. Interesting.
I originally had instead of Chastain, I had Kyle Busch, and then instead of either Larson or Hamlin, you drop down and pick somebody lower there. So I would have had Kyle Busch. Oh, and then you go up from Gragson to Ryan Priest or something. So there was some combo I had there, but I like this a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Eric Jones, I think, is very solid value there for how good he's been. Typically doesn't qualify well. Very underpriced driver, I think, this week for his upside is Alex Bowman. So I'm going to grab him at 74.
Completely agree.
I'm going to go Keselowski, 8,600. Again, typically doesn't qualify well. And he's so good here. I'm going to go Ryan Blaney because one of the defending winner of this race, one of the fastest cars on intermediates this year. Give me Ryan Blaney. And then let me see. So I originally had Stenhouse on here. And then debating between Byron and Reddick. So do I want to go Stenhouse and Byron or Josh Berry and Reddick? Josh Berry, I think, is going to qualify super high. So I'm going to go with Stenhouse and I'm going to go Byron. So I'm going to go Blaney, Byron, Bowman, Keselowski, Stenhouse, Jones.
It's an interesting week, man. Yeah, I started building with that. What you had done, just Bowman, and then the pick I liked, Berry, Larson, Hamlin, Gragson, Kyle Busch. Like, there's so many ways to go this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they did. Just overall looking at the pricing, I think it's going to be a tough week to build lineups. I do.
I think it's kind of an easy week to build lineups, but that's the problem for me. Like, I think there's a lot of ways to build lineups right now.
Yeah. I think I did not see Austin Dillon at $5,300.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
That is. Oh, I didn't notice that. Otherwise, I would have probably built off of that. Save that $1,200 from Stenhouse and go to Austin Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
And you could, you'd have room to go you could do a lot of stuff there. Oh, well. Should be an interesting week, though. We got those DraftKings lineups locked in, though. Last week, I think you got another win. Let me double check that. Recent. Yeah, because I had Gilly and he got screwed by
Punted.
freaking
Yep.
Priest. As if I didn't dislike Priest enough, but yeah, you had 181.5. I ended up with 129.05. So you now have a pretty healthy lead of 100, almost 120 points over the season and 4 straight wins. So it's been over a month since I have gotten a win against you in these way too early DraftKings lineups. See if I can pull it off this week. But
I'm feeling you'll. I don't know. I think my lineup has massive upside if I hit a dominator, but I think your lineup is potentially a little more like overall upside.
Just like finishing position wise.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. All right, you got anything up, man? Yeah, that's a good thing. Herbst at 4,800 is gonna be a punt option, I bet, this week.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about him. Let's see what he's done here. 11th, 4th, 12th in Xfinity. Never raced here in trucks, and then never raced here in Cup. So all we have is this Xfinity to go by, and not really amazing considering the equipment he's been riding in, which is Stewart Haas equipment. 2 of the 3 years, he finished worse than his point standings finish. So at Pocono than his point standings finish. So might call it kind of a negative track rating for him. Trying to look at Indy. He won Indy, but that had the drafting package last year for the Xfinity series. So I'm not really counting that. That was a completely different situation. And they didn't run the drafting package at Pocono last year. So don't think I would quite use that in my Riley Herbst analysis.
Man, there's going to be a lot of ways to go if you dip down to like an Austin Dillon this week. That's going to open up so much. Yeah.
Yep. And look, it's only 160 laps. It's going to be a place differential finishing position combination race, especially with all the strategy that we're going to see. So I think this is another week to optimize for the combo of place differential finishing position relative to salary.
Yep. 100%. Completely agree. All right. You got anything else this week?
No, sir.
All right. We'll wrap it up. Call it a day, and we'll be back next week to talk about
Atlanta. Echo Park.
Echo Park. We're going to talk about Echo Park. All right. Enjoy the race this weekend.
Yep.
We'll see you guys next week. Later.